In the summer of 1848, a 25-year-old woman named Marietta Davis fell into a deep sleep or trance for 9 days. All endeavors on the part of her friends and physicians failed to arouse her from this unnatural state. When at last she awoke to a consciousness of external things, she was in full possession of her natural faculties, with an almost supernatural acuteness of perception added beyond that. Before she fell into the trance, she had been considerably troubled in regard to her future external state, and was greatly disturbed by some lingering doubts. Her mother and sisters were exemplary members of a Baptist church in Berlin, New York, where they all resided, but Marietta's doubt seemed to have kept her from the enjoyment of the hope in which her family so confidently rested. But when she came out of the trance, it was joy and rejoicing over the unspeakable things that she had seen and heard. Her mouth was filled with praises to God, and her heart swelled with gratitude to Him for His loving kindness. Marietta declared that while her body lay as if it were in death, her spirit had visited the eternal world. She informed her friends that she would not remain long with them, but would soon return to this place to enjoy a mansion prepared for her, prepared for her in her heavenly Father's kingdom. After this, she lived 7 months, dying at the time she had predicted. So perfectly did she know the hour of her departure that when it arrived, she selected a hymn and began to sing it with the family. While they sang, her spirit took its flight so gently that she did not attract their attention. Thus the hymn began with her friends on earth and was undoubtedly concluded with angels in heaven. As with any spiritual vision, experience, or prophecy, the narrative of Marietta Davis's experience in the spiritual realm should be read thoughtfully and prayerfully, testing its words according to the whole of Scripture. See, for example, 1 John 4:1, 1 Corinthians 2:15, and 1 Thessalonians 5:21. The tone of the narrative is reverent and gives glory to Jesus the Redeemer. Therefore, it has had a spiritual uplifting effect on many of its hearers and readers. If read in the spirit in which it was given, it cannot fail to gladden and encourage the Christian, and to lead one from thoughts of man's material existence to the world beyond. As you follow Marietta in her wide range of spiritual thoughts and visions, forgetting the outer world, you will find that the heavens are opened to your view, revealing their glory and magnificence. There are no means that can properly convey to man, through his external senses, the scenes I witnessed while my body lay in unconscious slumber. No medium of communication is sufficiently clear to give the perfect outline of what is invisible and incomprehensible to mortals. Words are too cumbersome and meaningless, and human utterance mars the beauty and perfection of heavenly speech and corrupts the purity of thoughts thus conveyed. I am so aware of my utter inability to relate the facts of my experience that I am pained even by the thoughts of attempting such a feat. However, for the benefit of my fellow man, I do attempt it. I had long before discovered the vanity of earthly things, the imperfections of human associations, the unreliability of vast portions of religious faiths and impressions, and the lack of permanent peace in the disquieted soul of man. I earnestly desired to know more about the state we call immortality, for I knew that the outer world would perish. As I meditated from day to day, and as I tried to determine the nature of the human soul, I became less conscious of external things. My inner mind grew stronger and more active until the dim shadows of the objects and interest of this busy life of mortal ceased from my view, and my vision closed to the outer world. Then objects new and strange appeared. I did not know that I was retiring from the world of sorrow and of human strife, nor did I understand that my spiritual vision was opening and that what I saw dimly moving before me was a reality, the dawning of an immortal life. I seemed to be departing from some former condition and launching out into a boundless sea. I seemed to be traversing unexplored regions, veiled in uncertain vision, and floating in the mid-air over an immeasurable abyss below. Alone and unguided, my timid and uncertain spirit gladly would have returned to the land of shadows from which it had come. Half conscious of my condition, with dreamy thoughts, I seemed to ask, is there no one familiar with the journey I pursue to guide me in my movements through this trackless space? All of a sudden, in the distance and above me, I saw a light descending, having the appearance of a brilliant star. All my perceptive powers were then concentrated until nothing was visible but the approaching light. As it advanced, its foreshadowing halo illuminated the expanse around me, and my exhausted being received new life from the invigorating glory that beamed upon it. Gently, I began to move. As I ascended, I drew nearer to the source of the light that gladdened and quickened my spirit. As I approached it, I began to discover the outline of what at first appeared to be a glorious human being. The figure gradually became more distinct until, hovering in the atmosphere before and above me, was an angel, whose excellence far exceeded the fairest image of my human thought. That form, more lovely than language has power to portray, moved silently as it drew near me. She wore a crown made of clustered jewels. Her whole being reflected the light of celestial love. In her left hand was a cross, an emblem of meekness, innocence, and redeeming grace. In her right hand was a wand of pure intellectual light. With this she touched my lips, and like a flame of holy love, it quickened an immortal principle that diffused its enlivening spirit throughout my being. A new kind of sensation awoke within me, and moving harmoniously prompted a desire for companionship with the angelic being from whose hand came forth the stream of quickening light. I looked upon her, wishing to learn her name, when she spoke. The harmony of her utterance filled me with unknown delight. She said, "Marietta, you desire to know me. In my errand to you, I am called the Angel of Peace. I come to guide you to where those who are from earth exist. If you wish to profit from the lesson, follow me. But first, behold your form in the world from which you have come. There, far below me, and through a dark and misty way, I beheld a sickly mortal body. Around it were gathered my anxious friends, employing every means to awaken it, but all in vain. Behold, said my glorious God, a picture of human life. There, tortured with sympathetic love, family members struggled to hold the crumbling base and keep the flickering light from expiring. There, from youth to old age, rolls the tide of human woe. Death takes the tender and lovely human form and hides it from mortal sight. The flower that has gladdened everyone around it folds its leaves and withers at the touch of death. Earth, with her swarming millions, presents a mingling scene of rising hopes, ambition, strife, and death. Her inhabitants are dismayed by the approach and fear of death, the cruel destroyer. Time quickly measures the fleeting moments of human existence, and generations follow generations in quick succession. To this address I replied, these thoughts are the burden of my young and inexperienced mind. This picture of human life that you have shown me has been in my thoughts night and day. This is the cause of my sorrow. Can you tell me in what portion of the universe human beings find a resting place when their spirits depart? Can you remove the veil that conceals them from mortal vision? Can you guide me to where they are? Oh, tell me, do they have a home? And may I go to where my loved ones have been carried? The angel of peace then said to me, do you desire to know the condition of the departed members of your race, and to be made familiar with the effects of the habits and associations of perverted man? In time, you will know, but keep in mind that their conditions are varied. Then, bidding me to look upward, she said, what do you behold? Obedient, I looked above me, and with wonder beheld an orb far brighter than the sun in its noonday glory. Pure light, beaming along the celestial skies, radiated from it. There, said my guide, are many you would like to see who, clothed in remnants soft and white, move in harmony. There, night never arrives, and death and gloom have no place. Those who enjoy that blessing abode do not suffer. No sin or pain disturbs their calm repose. But you will learn more of this later on. Other scenes, less joyous, must first be given you. Marietta, you know well that men have varied characters. When their spirits depart from the unsettled and shattered habitation of earth below, no change occurs to their natures. Then, touching my forehead again, she said, what do you see? My vision was opened to a new scene, and I beheld before me forms without number, struggling in the agonies of death. Some were in kingly places on deathbeds richly hung with drapery of costly price. Some were in humble cottages. Others were in gloomy prisons, in places of vice and iniquity, in lone forests, in barren deserts, and in deep and wild waters. Some lay beneath the scorching sun. Some were perishing upon bleak and snowy mountains. Some were surrounded by weeping and attentive friends. Others were dying alone and forgotten. Some were perishing for their religion. Others were tortured by a cruel savage. Some were aged, despised, helpless, and forsaken. Others were orphans, cast out and destitute. Some were dying from wounds inflicted by an assassin. Others were crushed beneath the heavy tread of the warhorse in the battlefield. Thus, the place where time and eternity meet was revealed as a scene of indescribable misery. This, said my guide, is only a faint view of the effects of violated law. Touched again by the light beaming from her right hand, I beheld the immortality of those who were leaving their houses of clay, entering into the regions of eternity and commencing new and untried realities. Around each new spirit of the dead, other spirits of various appearances and movements were assembled. I saw new spirits of the dead congregated over battlefields in an intermediate region or passageway in the spirit world. The arrival of these new spirits into the heavenly realm was eagerly anticipated by the attending spirits who had the same moral nature as those who had just died. This is the case with all classes and conditions of men. All classes, as they emerge from the physical form, are attracted to and mingle with beings of similar character. These of discordant and ungodly natures are attracted by like elements and enter into regions overhung with clouds of night. Those who love what is good and who desire pure associations are conducted by heavenly messengers to the orb of glories appearing above the intermediate scene. The strange sensations of human spirits as they mingled with the multitudes of other disembodied spirits, beholding what was transpiring around them, excited my wonder. While I was watching their movements, I began to ask myself if what I saw was a reality or a mere illusion resulting from a dreamy state. Upon discovering my thoughts, my guide took me by the hand and said, "These beings moving about you, once the inhabitants of earth, having left their mortal dwellings, are becoming a new state of existence. Their surprise is the effect of their sudden change from external objects to spiritual ones, and their more immediate knowledge of cause and effect. But when you are more able to understand, you will be shown more of this state and their condition. We will leave these scenes and ascend to the bright orb that you see in the distance." Having said this, my guide led me toward the cloud of light. While we were passing the intermediate scene, she touched me again, and I became conscious of additional and expanded vision. "Behold," said she, "the countless planetary host. Notice the rolling orbs, suns, and systems of suns, all moving in silence and harmony. The vast expanse is occupied and filled with universes, constructed in infinite wisdom. These are inhabited by holy beings, happy and immortal, though varied in degree of development and refined spirituality. Again, my organs of perception were touched. Above and around me, and far in the distance, spirits of pure light were passing here and there as fast as a thought could cross one's mind. These, said my guide, are ministering angels. Their supreme delight is to go upon errands of mercy. Their home is with the ever-blessed. They are employed as guardian protectors and messengers of holy thought to those in conditions below them. While I was beholding them ascend and descend, one drew near me. In his arms was an infant spirit. The angel passed, and I saw that the baby rested calm and security, apparently conscious of his safety in the hands of his protector. From where did this child come? I inquired. The angel answered, I received it from a heartbroken mother at the gateway of death. As the child's spark of life expired in the external world, and I am conveying it to the sphere of infancy in the paradise of peace. As the infant's guardian spirit proceeded, we moved silently in the same direction until the scenes below vanished from my vision. My being was absorbed in the bright light descending from the orb that we were approaching. Soon we entered a plain on which there were visible trees, each bearing fruit. Their interwoven branches formed an arched canopy of evergreen above us. Passing through these shadowy groves, I was delighted with the melody of the birds, whose warbling notes arose in sweetest song. There we paused, supposing that I was on some terrestrial planet. I inquired its name. My guide answered, These trees, these flowers, these birds occupy the outer expanse of the spiritual paradise. So pure are they and so refined that mortals with beclouded vision may not behold them. And so soft are their notes that they are not made audible to the dull hearing of men. Beings who inhabit more earthly forms cannot imagine that such refined natures exist. Absent from your body, you can comprehend through spiritual senses the existence and reality of spiritual places. But what you now behold is simply the outline and mere exterior of the home of spiritual beings. These floral plains and warbling melodies are only the lower order of the external habitation of the sanctified. Do these groves appear as if they are moved with adoration? Do you see that these melodies charm and invigorate you with new life, are notes offered to higher degrees of love? When the redeemed leave the valley and shadow of death, they are first conducted here by their guardian protectors. Here they are taught the rudiments of mortal life and receive instructive lessons relating to their heavenly abode. Here they learn the nature of pure love, unmarred by sin. Here the instruments of ceaseless praise are first tuned, as they learn to utter immortal accents to the Lord, their Redeemer. Here they receive new thoughts that bring to them an increasingly sense of the reality of their change. Here in these groves, friends who have advanced in spiritual attainments return from higher employment to welcome the Spirit as it enters the spirit world. Here, relatives are permitted to meet and converse, and it is in these immortal groves where spirits first attempt in unity the song of redeeming grace. Here, reposing in soft and heavenly sweetness, they first breathed the pure air of paradise. While listening to this strange, though welcome address, my spirit yearned to meet the friends long lost to me on earth. The angel said, "Your present mission is to learn the condition of the departed children of God. Therefore, we must not delay. When your course on earth has ended, and you are in the infancy of your immortal state, you will here mingle with your kindred and receive lessons that will prepare you for more exalted mansions and the more glorified home of the blessed." Then she reached out her hand and plucked a rose that hung over us, bidding me to smell its fragrance. She touched my lips with it. Again, a more interior sight was given around me and moving in every direction, and through the varied floral scenes I beheld innumerable happy beings. Desiring to mingle with them, I sought permission, but my guide moved on and upward through the forest that became purer and fairer as we ascended.